expansion. Went under about a 12-month lease there. So they dropped back now. Dropped back from the restaurant, only there as needed. So somebody gets sick, somebody can't make their shift, they quit unexpectedly. Nick will go in to kind of fill in once in a while. So he's not at the restaurant so much. He's really now taking more of the multi-level marketing side, also taking the rest of the supply business. They end up moving the supply business now to a second location because they outgrew the first expansion. Now they're in the second expansion. And here's one thing that really surprised me. When this all started taking off, he said, even though I've won an award, even though they've given me the trip and they've given me the kudos and all that stuff and the plaques and all that, I'm pretty much done. So here's the part of the story where going through several paths, doing several things, I'm going to shed this one off, it's not working. Now I got a couple, going to shed the last one off. Now here we are, going to take it home. And here what we find is now Nick, and he has 4 salespeople, has a total staff of 10, he has people working in the warehouse right now. He's having a blast, and it's all in restaurant supply. He's having a great time. He has found his niche, and that's his story. Now this story for him, this has been about a 6.5, 7-year story. Really just trying to figure this out. Where am I going to land? Is it going to be MLM? Because for a while, he was in with a group, and a lot of his peers were really deep into MLM. That's what his peers were doing. It would have made sense for him to follow his peers along that path. And he decided, you know what? I really go by myself. This is cool. So anyways, I went ahead and brought that up because you're seeing Nick work through several of the discussions here, several of the ideas, the decisions. Does he know what his product is? Well, sort of. He knows he definitely knows the market. Okay, at the very beginning, he knows it's going to be restaurants. He's grown up. He's lived it. He's been there. What products do they need? Well, go figure it out. That's what he's done over the past 6 to 7 years. He's figured out what really works and how to get it there. His how to get it there, his channel, it's a whole bunch of door-to-door sales. There's nothing really fancy about it. There's no Google. There's no tech. It's just good old-fashioned. You walk in the door, talk to a mom-and-pop restaurant owner. It's all door-to-door sales. That's how he's grown it. That's his channel. So again, you can land on those 3 pieces. You know your product, you know your market, you know your channel. You can begin to scale a business. So let's move on here. Another couple examples. 2 ends of the spectrum. When I listen to people talk about failure and really kind of what their expectations are, we get a whole bunch of, hey, listen, that whole failure thing, yeah, that's going to happen to someone else. That's not going to happen to me. Especially when I talk to people who are in franchises. Sometimes you're like, that will never happen to me because I've got a playbook. They've given me some great directions. Fantastic. Directions are awesome, and it certainly cuts down a lot of the learning time. A lot of the time periods that I was showing you here, mine being that 11 to 12 year mark, and Nick would have bought a franchise. If I would have bought a franchise, arguably that learning curve would have been way shorter. Way shorter. Because a lot of those questions would get answered for me. So on the other side, I am so cautious right now, I'm not going to do anything. I am not going to start a business because I looked at my spreadsheet, Jason. I can't see my way clear for at least 3 months before I'm making money. There's no way that I'm going to possibly start a business. So I see this quite a bit when I'm talking with people who are kind of thinking about it. Maybe they want to get into it. I don't know. What do you think, Jason? Here's my idea. I see those 2 ends of the spectrum come out. Expectations. Here we are down the line, whether it's a year, 6 months, 2 years, somewhere down the line after they've kind of made this commitment. These are verbatim copy paste that I've taken out of emails. Things that people have sent to me, things that, conversations that I've had. Gosh, Jason, me and my wife, we started this business and we just thought we'd be a lot further along by now. Business hasn't quite taken off like we thought. Again, another couple listening to their story, kind of where they are in the whole progression. This last one, this one's a heartbreaker. A lady who makes custom purses. That is her deal. She loves clutch purses. And when I had a conversation with her, I learned more about purses than I ever thought I could learn about purses. She's just really excited about them. She makes them and sells them at local craft fairs, craft festivals and shows. When I first had a conversation with her, I was going around a show around our town and struck up a conversation and said, hey, how long have you been doing this? Again, the table's very well presented, business cards, very well presented, very good branding, and it looked like somebody who had her act together. And I said, hey, how long have you been doing this? She said, Jason, to be honest, this is my first show ever. Wow, well, you're looking pretty good. you mind if I follow up with you a couple days later? I'd love to hear how it goes. She said, okay. So I ended up following up with her by email. Hey, how did it go? And this was her response. Jason, I sold only 2 purses, and it was to people that I already know from work. And you can just hear that shh. What I didn't paste on here is that her next comment was, I don't think I'm ever going to do this again. And that's the part for me that just really gets me, because for a lot of us, we have these ups and then we have the downs. And we haven't been taught that the ups and downs are normal, and we haven't been taught how to navigate that. And that's what I want to be able to bring to people through my research, is some ways that we can mitigate the ups and downs and just understand, hey, this is normal, it's total real life, and yeah, it's to be expected. And if we can expect that, then it's less of a surprise. So, moving on. Again, expectations. This is really what most people think being an entrepreneur is. You get to work for yourself, you get to set your own hours, you can take vacation whenever you want, right? Yeah. Okay, and honestly, quite frankly, a lot of us, this is what we want. I mean, if we could wave a magic wand and say, how would you want your life to turn out? Every day would just be smiles. Notice, I only went out to Friday here. Well, that was nice of me, right? Okay, this is really what most of us get. This is fantastic. Oh, I'm going to go drive off a cliff. All right, we see this a lot. Most of us experience this. Usually, I go ahead and run an exercise like this in a workshop, and I ask for a show of hands, so I'll just do it here. How many of you experience this? Okay, good. Take a look around the room. Lots of people with raised hands. Lots of people with raised hands. Good. Again, you are not alone. Now, the next most important question I ask after that, how many of you don't? That whole up and down thing, I don't really feel it, Jason. Anybody here not really get that? Okay. In a room this size, I would have expected about maybe 5, max 10. I ran several workshops, and here's a big aha for me. I'm just walking along thinking that, man, this is everybody's story. My gosh, let's just all talk about it, and this is just going to be feelings. Come to find out, this isn't everybody's story. Remember back when I started off that I said that I had inherited this group of 12, and 2 of them were just going gangbusters? In a room this size, there's going to be, again, 5 to 7 people who are like, you know, Jason, I don't feel that. I had one guy tell me, well, Jason, hey, that used to be me 20 years ago. It's not now. I'm okay with that. So this is actually my world because I've become accustomed to this. Excellent. Good for you. Good for you. So, people talk about confidence a lot. You hear a lot about attitude and confidence, and I really dug into what in the world is it that builds confidence, because when I'm down at the bottom, I feel like I need a massive shot of confidence, and I couldn't really find anything that was really working for me. I mean, I've heard everything from you need to go jogging to get your endorphins up. I've heard read positive books. I mean, I've heard, listen to positive tapes. I'll even say the word tapes here. Listen to positive tapes. And some of that works for me, but quite honestly, I can't really get that to stick for very long. So here's what I found. When I do my research, I'm kind of sitting one foot over here in the ivory tower, and I'm reading a lot of academic journals, and things can be a little dry. And then I have one other foot over here in what I call the real world, where we've got to do some self-application here. So a term that I picked up over here in the academic world is called self-efficacy. Now for us, we're going to call that confidence, but for the academics in the room, confidence is really vague, and self-efficacy is the word that you stick with. Here are 3 pieces that are really, really key to confidence. Is that it really has to do with things like a given task on a given situation at a given day. So what does that look like? Given task, given situation, given day. I've asked people to do this before, back when I was coaching. Hey, listen, I need you to cold call some people. Okay, pick up the phone. We've already rehearsed. You know the script. You know what to say. Let's do some cold calling. Who are you going to call, Jason? Well, I want you to call your friends. Easy phone calls, softball. It's going to be real simple, easy. Just get an appointment. And I want you to call them during the weekday. Usually that would work out well. Now let's change one variable here. I still want you to cold call. I still want it to be your friends, but I want you to do that on Sunday. After they get home from church. Nails on a chalkboard. Wouldn't do it at all. How come? Well, no, I don't know. How come? And really what I got was, man, there's just a whole lot of family social pressure there about not calling on a Sunday, especially if you're calling for business. No business on Sunday. Okay, I get that. But again, confidence there, like, how's the phone call going to go? How's that task going to work out? Okay, so let's totally change it. I want you to cold call business owners, and I want you to do that early in the morning before anybody else gets into the office. Cold call them early, that way you don't have to deal with any gatekeepers, right? Okay, good. So that worked out really well. Take the same people, ask them to, all right, I want you to warm call. Forget about cold calling. This is somebody you just met at a networking event. I want you to warm call them. Hey, listen, it was great talking through the networking event. Man, I would love to go ahead and have a conversation with you, maybe follow up and have coffee. Still to business owners, still early in the morning. No, not today, I'm just not into it. I don't feel like it. A lot of times that happens to us. And I wanted to bring this out to you to show you a little bit about how you can build confidence. What are those three pieces? Because again, some days your performance is up because your confidence is up and you're feeling really good, and other days it's just not there. And when I finally was able to find some articles to help really explain why is motivation really high on some days and not high on the others, this is it. This is what the core of it is. So if you find yourself really wrestling with, hey, all right, why do I just not feel like it today? Excellent. You can dive right into this. And again, all of these slides are available to you through the app that you guys have on your phone. We're going to have a bit of a worksheet here that I'll show you in a second, where you can go through and learn how to really begin developing confidence at a very concrete level. So a couple things to really point out. This ebb and flow, it is completely normal, and it's not something that has to be fixed in you. There's nothing wrong with you if you were designed like this. If this is how you live your life, that's totally fine. You don't need to go fix yourself in any way, shape, or form. You can get better and more confident at some activities, and that's what this next slide will end up showing you. Again, this piece, I want you to go ahead and take this from the slides that you have. You guys can get this from the app that Laura had mentioned in the emails that went out about the conference. Grab this slide and print it out. I'm going to show you some of the selling activities. I've been developing my confidence in very, very specific niches of what's going to help me bring in revenue. So you see I have a title of their funnel names. Well, these are the different funnels that I have in my business right now. So I speak a lot at the community college market, and I also do some online sales. I have keynotes that I provide, do a little bit of consulting work, and then workshop market, the general workshop market. So you can see here that I've built a scale anywhere from, hey, wow, I'm just at the lab bench. I'm trying to figure out how to make this work, and maybe I'm going to break some stuff, and maybe it'll break a couple times before it finally works. And then over here we have the factory, where I really figured it out, can just churn and go and go. For me at the community college market, I feel like I've got that one understood. I feel like I understand the product, the market, the channel. I feel like I understand that very well, so I've rated that very high for me. Online sales, and you can just go ahead and go down the list there and see the ones that maybe I still need to do some more work on. So this slide is available for you. I want you to do your own self-assessment, because what happens here is how you move from here upwards. We have a bit of an exercise that we can do for that. So for me, on the community college market, again, feeling pretty good. Keynotes, wow, still have some work to do here. This is my very first keynote. I love being here. This is good stuff. But learning how to sell keynotes, this is brand new for me. So I'm out here doing the very things that I ask people to do themselves, is just put yourself out there. It's the school of transactions. That is really how you learn. So when you go, again, from this, oh, wow, this is fantastic, oh, this isn't, you just plug in through the school of transactions, and you've got to try, you've got to experiment, you've got to figure it out, you've got to put yourself out there. And really, your willingness to explore happens to be the greatest asset that you have. It is the greatest asset you have. I'm going to move in here to, I'm going to go ahead and bump through a couple slides, and I want to get to the tale of two restaurant owners. Now, we had, when the panel was up here, we were listening to, one of the panelists had a story about somebody who wanted to start a restaurant. And I think the conversation was, well, you're really much more of a commercial painter. We're going to go into a bit of a restaurant example here. I want you guys to meet Mary and John. These are two individuals who grew up with food in their family. I mean, food was a really, really big deal. Gourmet food, locally grown food. They had their own gardens. The aunts came over on the weekends to do baking, cooking for the week. Both of them grew up with food. And they know at some point they're going to end up having some type of food in their background as they grow up and grow older. So let's talk a little bit about John. John ends up going to college, majors in business, works in corporate America for 10 years. And at that point, he finds himself in a position of, okay, do I want to continue chasing corporate America, or do I want to go do my own thing? Let's check in with Mary. She doesn't really want to go to the whole college route. She really wants to stay hands-on with food. So she goes to culinary school, and again, she's working with hands-on with food in the restaurant hospitality industry for 10 years. So again, 10 years of experience. Now she is at a point where she says, hey, do I want to keep doing this, or do I want my own thing? Well, lo and behold, they both said, yeah, I've decided I want my own business. If I'm going to do it, right now is my time to go have my own business. So if you had to put your money on who's going to make it, how many of you would say John, business background, business school, corporate America? Show of hands. Any of you for John? Okay, a few of you. How many of you for Mary? Okay, all right. So let's see how this unfolds. John goes out and writes the business plan. He ends up getting funding, and he goes the standard track of leasing space for the restaurant, hiring staff. So we play this forward here about 36 months. He has a 36-month lease on the space. And what has happened here is kind of a great story, because he ends up starting off great guns. And he's loving this, launches the restaurant, rave reviews. People are saying great things on Yelp. This is what his plan had called for. This is where his revenue is. He's loving life first 6 months. After the first 6 months, however, the newness kind of wears off. He goes back at the end of the first year. He's barely above what his projections are. He says, all right, I am really going to try really hard here to make this thing work. Make some changes to the menu, cuts back on cost here and there. At the end of the second year, this is what he projected, and this is where the revenue is. A couple other competitors open up in town, and at the end of 36 months, he had the doors closed, and he still had more time to pay on the lease. So he went out there, he reached for the brass ring, missed it, had some great experience, but still didn't really land what he wanted as a restaurant owner. So this is really how John's situation ends up, and he's not happy, because again, he still has some time he's got to pay on that lease. So let's check back in with Mary. Let's find out how things go for her. So with Mary, forget about the business plan. She starts out really with two questions. Who in the world do I know? Of all my contacts from culinary school, hospitality industry, who do I know? And of those people, what skills, talents, or resources do I have that I can offer them? Now, let's see, I do desserts quite well. I've had experience working at a large hotel. I know sauce. I can be a saucier quite well. Matter of fact, that was what I got known for at the last place that I worked. So she has these assets that she has. And really, what she does at this point is try to figure out how do we match this up. Her first thing is, I need a commercial kitchen. Need a commercial kitchen. She goes in, looks on her Facebook page, kind of goes back to some of the friends that she went to college with in culinary school, and works the phones and finds that, sure enough, a little bit further than she wants to drive, but one of her friends has a commercial kitchen for lease, month to month. She's excited about this, loves the idea, rents the thing month to month. So now she knows that she has this commercial kitchen in the back. So from here, what does she do? Well, she works the phones a little bit more, finds somebody that she used to work with who was kind of a sous chef. Well, now this person's a head chef on the other side of town, and this person is really in a tough bind. Hey, listen, the person who's going to be making desserts for a catering event that I have coming up, they just bailed on me. If I could get you to cover desserts for this event, I would love that. Don't know what else I can have for her in the future, because usually I have somebody in-house to do that, but if you can at least take care of me for this event, awesome. So she finds somebody who needs desserts. Last thing, she calls yet another one of her friends who's a sous chef. This sous chef said, hey, I just lost my saucier. I can't seem to keep a really good saucier employed at this place. I have no idea what I'm doing wrong, but I know you from school and you used to make great sauces. Can you help be a supplier for us for a while until I figure out this whole employee thing? Run the scenario a little bit further. So she finds this contact who needs sauces. What we end up finding at the end of 36 months, That one-time gig for her one friend who just needed some desserts to cover one event ended up moving on to where now she's doing all the desserts for that restaurant and has grown into a couple additional restaurants in town. Moving on, remember the saucier? She ended up being able to train sauciers at her commercial kitchen. That she's still doing month-to-month leases on. So she's discovered this pool of business for her. She didn't set out looking for it. She discovered it along the way by asking some real simple questions. Who do I know? What skills, talents, and resources do I have that I can offer them? So she's quite happy. She's at the end of 36 months doing the happy dance and just loving life. So we'll move on here. I really want to introduce you to a very, very key term here. John used something called causation. Okay, you guys have heard of cause and effect before. John was really much on the term of causation. What Mary did was effectuation. If you learn nothing else from my talk today, please write down that term, effectuation, and go look it up. And I'll just real fast do a comparison. Causation is I have a plan. It's very German, by the way. It's I have a plan, and I'm going to make this plan happen. Effectuation is I'm an explorer. There are many ways that this can be successful. My job is to go out and look for the ways that this can be successful. So causation, again, is very linear. It's A before C. It's going to follow the plan. It's I'm going to go get funding. I'm going to follow the rules. I'm going to pay back stuff. It's about business plans. Very, very, very much what we're taught in business school. Not what a lot of entrepreneurs end up really doing. Effectuation, these are people who just kind of value the search. I don't fully know where I'm going, but I know that I have the skills, talents, and resources to get me there. So if you look at really what happened to the two of them, of course, he planned to own the restaurant. He did the plan. Again, kind of followed everything. Got the funding, ended up getting the physical space. That worked out very, not so well. Got the business started, didn't make things last. And hers, she did this kind of self-funded, really. Most importantly, she found her following because she was willing to go on a search. So the moral of the story here, if you right now are searching for a way, or feel like you are still, after all these years, searching for a way to make your business work, you are in very good company. This idea of effectuation and search, it is a totally valid way to start and run your business. You don't always have to have your act together. It is okay to pivot in your business once in a while. In fact, it's highly encouraged to pivot in your business once in a while. And if you go back and you check out effectuation, I think it's effectuation.org, and learn a little bit about the story behind that body of research, you will learn that some very sizable .coms were started using this exact same technique, where people around the business table, around the boardroom said, hey, we've run out of the business plans, we've written 5 of them, we're down to our last $1 million, we got to make something happen. And that's really what started this whole idea of effectuation. So, thank you so much for having me. Again, my name is Jason Owens. Really appreciate your time.